A pull quote is basically some sort of block of text that advertises something within the document. It's usually exaggerated text. Generally speaking, you'll see it like in an article where they're quoting, like let's say somebody's interviewing Emily, and Emily said something really inspirational, and they wanted to extract that out of the larger document so somebody can see it and say, ooh, Emily said something really wonderful. Now I want to read the whole thing. It's sort of like a marketing device regarding the information within the article, document, whatever it is that you're reading. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating another text box. So I just drew another text box. Let me do that again. I'm going to the type tool. I'm going to create another text box, and I'm going to write here pull quote. Now pull quotes tend to be really exaggerated. They tend to be bigger than a header, almost like a title. You can almost think of it as an illustration of text. A pull quote could be a couple of words, it could be a couple of sentences, it could be basically any size, but typically it is exaggerated or contrasts the rest of the page in the document. So it's usually emphasized. And generally speaking, weight, scale, negative space, and color are assigned to it. So negative space means there's a lot of emptiness around it. Make this really big, and I'm also going to make it really bold, and I'm going to make it extra black. Okay, and then I'll give it a color so it really pops. Let's see here. Tint. All right, so there's my pull quote. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it even bigger than this. I'm going to make it really exaggerated. And my leading needs to adjust. Pull quote. How about pull quote here? In some cases, you'll see pull quotes where they might put it in a box, they might put an underline, they might put vertical lines on either side, sort of sandwich it visually around a graphic. They might put it in another shape, like a circle. You know, they usually really try to dress them up. So what I'm going to do, just to kind of play off of that, I'm going to draw a couple of lines here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them also magenta, so they sort of look like there's some sort of graphical structure that I'm trying to design for my pull quote. InDesign has a unique set of stroke types. So they have double strokes and triple strokes along one path, and they have different weight combinations. Oh, they also have something called Japanese dots, which I really love. I think they're really beautiful. So I'm going to use Japanese dots. So there's Japanese dots right there, really pretty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this. Move it underneath it. Sort of creates a little sandwich of information. This is my little pull quote. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to group all of this together because they're three separate components. And I'm doing this because I want to move them all together, and I want them all sort of being treated as one object. So I'm going to go to Object, and you'll notice that there's Group. If I ever want to ungroup them, I just select Ungroup. Right. If I look at this in my Layers panel, you're going to see that they're nested together within a group. There it is. Groups. All right, so I'm going to move this, and I want the pull quote to sort of act as a device that's woven in this third column. And you'll notice that I'm having the same issue that I had before when I placed an image. It's not really doing what I want it to do. I want the text to sort of push away from any element that I'm weaving into the document. So I'm going to go ahead and activate text wrap with this. Text wrap panel. And I'm going to select wrap around the bounding box. So now when I pull this into the space, you'll notice that the text is pushing away from it. So it's acting like a graphical device. And that's really the point that I want to make here, that when you work with text, especially like this, it starts to act more like an illustration or an image. It's an emphasized component. It's separate from the text box. So you might want to float it on top and use text wrap to have the rest of the copy, the regular standard paragraph-driven copy, sort of push away from it. I'm going to leave this here and show you that I can increase the spaces by playing around with the variables in terms of the padding and the distribution of the text wrap. Now, with this being said, let's say I have a pull quote that basically inserts in this column, but for whatever reason, I really want a lot of emphasis on this pull quote. I don't want any text after it. I sort of want a big negative space after it, just to really pull a lot of attention to it. So maybe instead of using text wrap around the bounding box, what I want to do is jump to the next column. So when I do that, the text actually should jump to the next column. Now, I haven't created a text wrap on the fourth column, but you'll notice it is hiding it. So the text disappeared because it wants to jump, but it doesn't have anywhere to go to. So I'm going to click on this overset text. I'm going to click right there, and you'll notice that now the text is wrapping from here. The text is here. It gets to the pull quote. The pull quote is basically saying, hey, with text wrap, make sure you jump to the next column. It's forcing the text to jump over here. Right? Let me take it off. So this is what it looks like with normal text wrap. This is with no text wrap. Zoom in here. No text wrap, normal text wrap. Here it is with jump column.